Hello, welcome everyone. Today we are going to be diving into After Effects. Welcome to Creativity-Hive's weekly show where we do all things post-processing, particularly in Premiere Pro and After Effects. And sometimes we interview people from around the world, but today we're going to actually do an intro to After Effects. So let's bring on Neil and Mo here. Hey
Hello,
everyone.
hello everyone. How are you guys?
We're doing
And
great. How about you?
I'm good, thank you, Miriam. How are you, Neil?
Oh, I'm doing fine. Looking
Doing
forward
okay.
to today because I'm not all that versed in After Effects. I mean, I've used it for a number of things, and a couple of things I've done in it have I've had people say, "Well, that was kind of moderately advanced." Yeah, well, I worked on one thing for like 3 or 4 days and got it really working well, and then have never tried that exact same thing again, and that was a year ago. And so, as far as for counting for good After Effects uh, uh, working ability. Hmm, fairly minimal. Uh,
Miriam and I said, you had your chance with Miriam, then you had your chance with me. Now it's payback time.
yep.
Yeah,
So
right.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to it because After Effects is kind of fun. You can do some cool stuff, but it's just the user interface is so different than what I'm used to that it's always kind of startling. Uh,
okay, so do you want to dive right in?
Yes,
sure.
please.
All right, so let me share my screen with you and pop up After Effects. Okay, and yeah, cool, cool. So this is After Effects, right? Welcome to the wonderful world. Don't mind my long, big dock at the bottom. Lots of stuff going on. Um, so this is After Effects. The user interface is pretty simple compared to Premiere. It's a little bit different, but essentially, basically the same kind of stuff going on. Whatever has a blue highlight around it is the active screen, as anyone would know that's worked in it before. Between the effects tab, it's going to be highlights there. This is the timeline at the bottom. Very simple to understand. Unlike Premiere Pro, though, it doesn't have an infinite timeline. And it doesn't have a sequence. There's no such thing as a sequence in here. What is found in After Effects is what's known as a composition. So similar to After Premiere Pro, sequence in Premiere Pro, composition in After Effects. Okay, yeah, cool. Right. So what we're going to do is the first thing we're going to do before jumping in is we're going to set a particular two preferences. There's just two that we need to do, right? So the first preference would be on a Windows machine, it'll be edit preferences. On a Mac, it's After Effects and preferences. The first one we can do is the media and disk cache out here, right? So what we're going to do there when we bring it up is we're going to choose, there's three folders that you need to set up. The this folder on the top, which is the disk cache, then you set the amount of disk cache in gigabytes that you want. The bigger the better, of course. The second is the conformed media cache, and the last, database, and the last is the cache. These are very, very important, much more important than in Premiere Pro, because of the fact that what happens is After Effects builds up a tremendous amount of cache files. I'm talking, you can go into 100, I've hit 100 gigs in tiny little projects. I mean, minusculely tiny projects. You'll hit 100 gigs on this, guaranteed. So where users should generally set up this too is an another SSD drive. If they don't have the luxury of more than one drive in a laptop, or a MacBook, they can slot in an external SSD, generally USB 3 or something like a Thunderbolt drive, which is pretty fast. And then you just go in and you set up these three folders. So just to take you into where mines are set up, this is an SSD. It's just I just call it a scratch drive and the scratch disk, and you'll see AECC 2021 is in here, and you can see those are the three folders that we want to set up. That's the first preference, right? And the second preference is memory and performance. Now, in the new After Effects versions, we have the enable multi-frame rendering support, which allows you to render multiple frames simultaneously based on the number of CPU cores you have. Of course, you can go up here and say, I'd like to max it out at 90% of the CPU, the percentage used for the other applications on your Mac or on your PC at about 10%. You can see these bars perhaps on the top, right at the top of my desktop. That's how much of CPU I'm using on 12 cores at the moment. That's 22%, right? And that's with nothing going on. So it is pretty intensive. It's resource heavy. If I disable enable multi-frame support, this numbers from 22 is going to drop down just now when it starts to let go of the cores. But I like, as you can see, it's 21. It's deciding what to let go on the CPU. But I like to keep it enabled because it's, I mean, if you have a decently spec machine, you're okay. Okay, so that's the two preferences. Nothing else to worry about here. What we're going to do is I'm going to import in 5 assets. So Neil's got these assets. I'm just going to bring those in, right? And we're going to have a look at each one. So the first one is this. It's just a locked off shot of a time lapse of a city. The second one's also a time lapse of a city. The third one's also a time lapse, but it's of a bridge. The fourth one is a city and a highway. And the last one is just a static shot of a rendered studio, almost like an infinity curve, but it looks like a prison almost. But it's a rendered shot of 3D image. Nothing is moving here. The only things that are moving are in the time lapse. And we're going to do something really cool with any one of these that we want to choose. So let's look at which one we'd like to choose. Let's have a look. See. Oh, sorry, just don't look at that. So let's see that one. I think I'll choose for Neil. Miriam, do you think? Well, let's choose this one for Neil, right?
Sure.
Right. So maybe this one, or even better, we could go. But this is a little busy. Let's just make it a little bit. I'm trying to think which one would suit me. Yeah, a little intricate there. Let's just go in. I think. Yeah, we can do this. So these are really big, as you can see. They're 1920 by 1200. They're not that big. The other ones are a little bigger. We want to make a composition from this. So what we're going to do, like in Premiere, where you would drag a piece of footage down onto your timeline or into the new composition window, the new sequence window, you would do the same here. It's really simple. Just drag and drop. Let it go. And it creates a perfect, if you look at the composition, is now a perfect composition of, if I go to comp settings, you'll see 1920, 1200. And now the thing about After Effects is the duration. So how long do we want it to be? Right now, it has followed the duration of the end. And you can see multi-frame rendering happening in the background here. Here, this green line, as it's playing, as it's getting green, it's allowing you to play back in full speed. And that's building up the disk cache as we go. So this composition has been set at 1 minute, 44 seconds and 16 frames, which is fine. It's nothing to worry about. So what would we like to do to this place? What we're going to do, and I've asked Neil to download 2 plugins.
Mine is already finished rendering.
Well, some people have 24 cores and hyperthreads and thread rippers and GPUs that are 16 gigs. And in South Africa, they don't make 16 gigs GPUs yet. But I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. Like my GPUs are like 8 gig GPU, so 16.8. I mean, it really depends. I have a lot of. For me, this machine renders slowly on the timeline, but it renders fast on the export. Yeah. That's how I set it up, right?
And for people watching this, there are differences between the two of them. I'm running a PC made by Puget Systems. It's got a 3960X Threadripper with 24 cores, and I've got a 2080 Ti for a GPU and 128 gigs of RAM, and my cache is running on an NVMe drive, a second SSD that's NVMe inside the computer for that. My Oz is on an NVMe drive, and virtually everything else is running on large internal SSD drives. I'm not even using spinning drives. Now,
well, that's the reason you're that fast.
Yeah,
see?
It's a fast computer for some things, but this is where the whole Mac and PC thing is. There are some things that'll be a little faster on my system. There's some things that Mo's system will blow mine away on for certain kinds of processing. So it isn't really one or the other. They're just different. But like I said, I can beat him with some things, but he'll blow me out of the water on others.
Well, Neil will blow me out with most. Uh, I think because that spec is insane. I love it. I wish that could. You're close to a Mac Pro 7.1. I'm just going to save this as a VFX test, right? So what do we want to do here? What we're going to do is change this entire thing into a futuristic city. Okay, and how do we do this? Now here's the trick. We're gonna talk to our friends here in the effects and presets tab, and as you can see, if I keep scrolling, I'll keep scrolling. There's a ton of presets and effects that I have, and I love them, and I use them a lot. Lots of people don't have them, but you should if you don't get a few. So what we're going to do first is use a plugin that I gave asked you to get, which is a completely free plugin from Video Copilot, which is called Saber. So let's look at what Saber actually is by starting to use Saber. So I'm going to right click in this area. You can even go into layer new on the top, and I'm going to say right click new, and I'm going to say solid. All right. Now, solid, you have to attach an effect to a layer. So we're just going to call it a solid, and I'm just going to call it Saber. Then I'm going to scroll down. You can search out Saber if you have a lot up here. Just type in SABR, sorry, SABER, and you'll see Video Copilot Saber. And if I drop it on, you'll see a straight neon line. That's all you see. It's not doing anything. If I play it back, it's pretty kind of static, and you can move it around and do all these kind of cool Jedi tricks on your screen. But that's not what we want. But if I go in here
That's
to
what
this
I want. No, I'm sorry.
you,
I want
you
a
could,
lightsaber.
if I change the preset to something like fusion. Now watch what happens with fusion. As you can see,
Ooh.
you're getting some really cool things going on, right? Right. But that's, yeah, it's all good and all cool and great and blah, blah, blah. But it's not what it's meant to do. So let's take away that layer. Let's right click again and say we want a text. So we'll type in Creativity-Hive.
So delete the Saber layer.
Yeah, you're gonna. We're not. This is just to show you what Saber can do. But we're not getting into it just yet. This is just to explain Saber, right?
Mhm.
I'm gonna drop Saber onto Creativity-Hive's layer down here, and again you're gonna have that pop up with this little kind of nothing going on. You don't see anything going on, right? Why is that? Because Saber hasn't understood where to attach itself to. But in this customized core up here, I drop it down, it'll say where do you want it to attach to? We'll say text layer.
Ah,
Okay. Now, if I look at text layer, watch what happens. I go there, and nothing happens, and it's not working. And this is a big mistake that everyone makes. Saber, I'm going to delete it again. I'm going to delete this text layer. Actually, I'm just going to delete the Saber on the top. I'm just leave the text layer alone. Do not drop Saber onto anything but certain types of layers. So I'm going to now again create a new solid. All right. Just call it Saber. Okay. Drop that onto that solid layer. You got now your Jedi sword up here. We're going to go to customize, and then we're going to say text layer. All right. It then asks us which text layer do you want to attach it to. So it's using the solid as a base and then saying, okay, what text? And we're going to say Creativity-Hive. Bang. And watch what happens.
ooh,
Okay, so let me just take that low intensity down a little bit, and I'll drop it to something like Patronus. Reminds me of Harry Potter. Uh, yeah, Patronus. All right. So we got this cool thing going on here, but let me drop that down a little bit. And when I play it back, watch this. This is now. I'm just gonna drop my res to half, and watch it is animated already.
whoa.
Okay.
Cool.
So if I drop those presets down to something else like core, remember Creativity-Hive is sitting in the background. So you might say, hey, but yeah, cool, but it's not doesn't look good because I don't know what's happening. It's not doing anything much. We have other areas that we can play with. So we got this end size and end offset and so on. So I'm going to go And I'm going to actually drop the intensity down slightly, the glow intensity, so we can start seeing a little bit of Creativity-Hive, right? And I'm going to get the start and end offsets. Now, what should happen to the start and end offsets? Now, in After Effects, as everyone that works in After Effects knows, this little stopwatch icon allows you to create keyframes. It is the heart and soul of any animation program, keyframing. What does keyframing do? It allows you to record a value that you want to record in a particular moment or in time. That's basically it. And then the next keyframe will be the change of that value from that time to that time. That's basically all it is, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to take the glow spread away a little bit like so, right? And I'm just going to kind of let it play through. And I'm then going to take, I'm just going to bring that up a little bit like that. Okay, cool. And then I'm going to take the glow bias down a little bit. Just you can play with these randomly, really. It's nothing stops you from just playing around. I'm going to go to this end offset, as you can see, and I'm going to animate it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click that stopwatch, and I'm going to go forward in time, and I'm going to change it up. And what's going to happen now if we play back? As you can see, just going to bring that keyframe a little bit closer. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I want to be able to see the word Creativity-Hive at the end, right? So
Right.
I want to go here. So I'm going to just take this glow intensity value, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to go back in here. So glow intensity, okay, go back here, and I'm going to drop that down to say 0, and I'm going to go back in here. All right, and you'll start seeing that the word is beginning to reveal itself, like kind of an inferno going on. And if I change any preset, these keyframes will actually change, and they will keep that preset with these keyframes, so you can do it as much as you want. We can go to, for example, the end blurriness or the blur size. We can have the evolution as well. We can start changing evolution, and we can also go to say end size as if you want. We can change the offset here as well. We can change the roundness. We can change a lot of stuff that we want to do. We can just change really. I can change the glow bias down. I can change the glow spread up and down. I can do a lot of cool stuff. So if I go to the core size as well, you can see I can really do some really weird and wonderful things. So if you go to halo size, so once again, you can play around with these. I haven't even opened up this distortion. So the distortion amount, you can change it up, you can change it down. So you can see you got different types of distortion, which is like smoke and then fluid. We went past it, so you can't really see it. So if I go to smoke, it'll give me a different type. If I invert it, it'll give me a different effect. Let's just go back into smoke, okay? And what we can do here is go in here, start it like this with your in and start values. Of course, we're not going to do this with our footage, but this is to show you how Saber actually works, right? Now, you might say, okay, that's super cool. What can we actually do with this really cool plugin? So
Well,
what we can,
I'm going to kick in right here and say that, for anyone looking at this, you start realizing that the number of options you have on this where you can change the behavior, the color, and everything like that are just like insane. And at Adobe Max, I've been a teaching assistant several times, and I think it was probably about the first After Effects class I was a teaching assistant for, had one of the really top people in the world supposedly teaching After Effects, who started off his program by saying, basically, I know 6 effects in After Effects, 6 of the special effects things. He said, they're all I ever use, and normally I only use 2 or 3 of them in most things. And he says, but watch this and see if you can tell what I'm using. And he ran then a short video of some of the commercials and movie things that he's done for various things. And none of it looked like it was even close to anything that any of the others had been. And he was going, yeah, okay, you just saw 55 different projects or something like that, 55 or 60 projects. They look totally different, and there's only 4 effects used in that entire reel, just because
Correct.
there's so many options that he could do so much with. And he's going, so I've learned how to use a few effects and do all kinds of stuff with them. And I'm looking at this and going, yeah, you really can see why someone could learn a few of these and go nuts, really make stuff.
Well, as you can see, this has changed completely from what we had before, right? So I'll
Right.
take this pink color and I'll make it Creativity-Hive's color, which is like yellow, orangish. And there we have a really cool animation coming on. And that I didn't change
Wow.
anything. I just changed the glow radius and I changed this from this one of the presets. Like maybe we'll go to Proton and you can see it changes everything. Now,
Wow.
to take you back to how much of disk cache we've used so far. Watch this. Just this tiny little bit, right?
Mhm.
We've used 99.6 gigs in just that small amount of time. That's 100 gigs of cache data. So when this happens, you begin to slow down. So what you do is you just go edit, purge all memory and disk cache. So it releases the RAM and clears up the disk cache. All right, so we just clear that up. It's deleting 100 gigs worth of disk cache. And you saw just in such a short space of time, this is the stuff that happens. So what we want to do is now we want to actually do something with Sabre that can work on a project. So I'll just delete this Sabre completely. Let's look at, I'll delete Creativity-Hive as well. And I want to explain to you what a mask is. A mask. So if I select a layer like this layer and I take any of these drawing tools on the top, any shape or any the pen tool, and I draw that, can you see it's given me a mask around an object? That's all it is really. Like in Premiere Pro, how you do masks, right? Pretty simple. What I'm going to do is I want to concentrate on each portion, okay, of these pillars. This is the pillars I want to start with, these guys. Now, Neil, this is where you need to pay attention because you're going to be doing this stuff soon. All right, so these are the pillars I actually want to kind of concentrate on, these ones. I'm going to duplicate this layer. All right, to duplicate it is simple. Control D or Command D on a Mac. So you got a new layer. I'm just going to press Enter button on that layer and call it left pillar. I'm going to take Sabre and drop it on, but before I drop Sabre onto it, I'm going to mask, I'm going to hide that bottom layer, so I only have the top. I'm going to mask this pillar. So all I want to see is that pillar. So I'm going to take the pen tool and kind of just give it a rough mask. I don't have to be too precise. You can use your hand tool as well, which is letter H. Now, can you see the mistake that's been made deliberately? If you don't select the layer, it starts to draw a shape for you. So it's created a new shape layer. Do you see? So if you don't select the layer, it doesn't draw a mask, it draws a shape. So let me undo that. I'll just delete this layer. So if I don't select and I start to draw, watch, it's a shape it's giving me, right? So that's all what we want. We want a mask. So what I want to do is I want to select on the word left pillar or that layer, then go in and create the mask. And watch what happens. You don't see any shape at all. You just see a color. In this case, it's an orange, which you can change if you don't like orange. And I'm just going to kind of roughly go around this. Okay. And yeah, that's my mask, right? So that's the pillar. That's all we need to know right now. I'm now going to go in and I'm going to put Sabre onto this layer. Drag it, drop it. And actually we see, Yoda's Sabre. We go into here again, the Sabre controls to the customized core, and we say this time not text layer, but layer masks. Bam. That's it. We have it. Let's open up the bottom layer and watch what just happened. And you can see we don't see anything because the bottom layer is hidden. It's got no alpha channel at the moment, so we have to change the blend mode. Up here, you have if you don't see this blend mode or the modes button, simply right click. You can do it in two ways. Click down here to give you the modes, or simply right click columns and enable modes. Okay, cool. Let's change this mode from normal to add. Bam. We've got a cool neon guy going on here, right?
Nice.
Right. So we're changing the city into a kind of futuristic looking city, right? So what I want to do is I'm going to duplicate this layer because this guy is pretty much the same as this guy, right? Nothing majorly different. But I'm just going to now move this over. See, I can actually move it over. Very simple to do. So I can move it over, and I can then just take this mask and kind of do that. So, or if you want to be really
cool.
very precise, you can draw another mask. I mean, there's nothing wrong with drawing another mask if you want to. But we're just doing it, we don't have too much time, so we just got to do it quickly.
I don't know.
So
Duplicating it seems easier to me.
well, you'll see duplicating becomes a little bit harder when you want to actually put it on these edges and things like that,
Oh,
right?
okay.
So let's duplicate that again. Duplicate. We're gonna put this one right here. Be careful. Look at this bottom edge, right? Remember, it's a complete solid, so you might get these issues. Be careful. Be very, very careful of where you move that layer to. Just make sure that layer is moved right to the bottom like that. Okay, so that's a little guy here, little guy there, kind of like that. And for this one, I'm just going to drop the glow intensity down so I can actually see that color in the background. Okay. So I'm going to do the same for these. So I'm going to make the glow intensity 10. I'm just going to type in the number 10. For this one, I'm going to type in the number 10 as well. I don't want to make it over, right? Just kind of make it really nice. And let's just see where those masks have moved to. Okay, that's the first mask. That's the second mask. And this is the third mask, right? So you can see, just be careful where your masks are sitting. You can see that glow was spilling over the edge. So the masks got a little wrong. So let's go to this mask and let's duplicate that mask. Duplicate. And let's move that mask over. So just going to bring it down a little bit. And then bring that up, bring that up, bring that up. Okay, cool. So we got all our masks. Everything's in order. Again, we're not doing it super precise. But if I go to the very first mask up here, and I change this to, say, the core, see what happens, right? We'll do this. I'm going to change that to core as well. And things begin to get a little bit interesting. Okay, and if I play it back, because we get like a 3K image, you can see the timeline decides to start doing its own thing now. Right? So it didn't take a lot, took a little bit of work. If I take that preset again and I go to the very first mask and I drop that down to, say, maybe something like that. Okay, actually, let me see something like replicant. Okay, now we got a kind of future city going on. That's a little bit burny, but we're going to take that burn away in a minute. Let's take it to electric, about there. Of course, we can change these colors at any time. Let's take that up. Let's make this energy, and that one, let's make that a narrow. Okay, cool. So you can see again, you got a lot of stuff going on. So if we look at the very first one here, and we want to just see that layer, there's a little dot at the bottom here, which allows us to see only that layer. So if I tick it, it's going to hide everything else. It's called the solo button, right? And we can now go to the core spread as an example. We can play around. Oops, I must just actually select that layer. The core spread. We could do that. We don't want too much of a spread. We can take the intensity down. Now we go into things like, let's say, distortion, the glow distortion. So we'll take that glow distortion down. We don't want too much of distortion. And I'll just unhide that layer again. And you'll see now we got a little bit of a different feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this is what you're going to kind of recreate. Now, what we want to do next is we're going to duplicate the layer once again. Now, remember, when we're duplicating everything, but the masks do not come with it, because let me just check. Yeah, the mask comes with it, but the Saber doesn't come in with it because doesn't know where to actually choose the mask. It says layer mask on its own. So you're not bringing Saber. So what we want to do next is go to something like the roof. All right. So what I'm going to do, because the roof has things on it, that's a bit more complex. We'll take it out, we'll duplicate it, and we'll rotate it, etc. But we're just going to kind of go over the roof and find a roof in the distance a little bit, say somewhere there. Let me just bring that up. Okay. We're going to go up here. And in this one, once again, I'm going to just go in and mask. Very simple. Do that, do that. Let's see. Do that, do that, do that. That, and you can see Saber's deciding to do its masking, and it's choosing the mask for me. And cool. That's where we are, right? So let's look at that layer masks. That's the mask that we have. Let's go into it. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to take away Saber from here completely. All right, so you can see we've got this whole mask going on here. Now we want to understand, when we did this, right? When we duplicated it, how come we've got this kind of look going on? If I delete the mask, we don't have a look. The reason, and it's very, very important to understand this, is that when we created all these other layers, remember, Saber is like a whole solid on its own. Okay, so what it's doing is it's attaching itself. You remember when I moved this particular one, can you see the edge? There was an edge here. So it's picking up that edge color. So you have to be very careful when you do this. All right, so, but you will get the hang of it in a second. Let me just take that back. This is a lot of the time is when I kind of break After Effects doing things like this. But it's fine. Okay, so we'll go there. So we've got all of these. Let's just go back and enable. Righty. Delete that one. Okay, so this is the first port of call for you to use Saber. You can choose any of the pieces of footage you want, not necessarily this, and do the same thing. Maybe you want the bridge. Maybe you want something else. So I'm going to release my screen and let Neil take over.
Okay.
All right. Now he's in the hot seat.
In the hot seat.
Let's see your screen.
So do I want to play with the building, or do I want to put a text across it that's flaming?
You can choose to do whatever you want to do.
I think I would like to do a flaming text thing across this. And
okay,
so
good. Okay, that's interesting. I'd love to see you doing it. I want to see how you do it.
So I've currently got the text tool active. So now, like in Premiere,
we need to see your screen.
Oh,
yeah,
that's right. I have to come over here, exit full screen, and go into share. select and okay, are we now? Yes, we are now seeing my.
Yep. Now we can see it.
Okay, so now like in Premiere Pro, you can click and start typing, and you get text that just goes from where you started typing it, or you click and drag, you create a box to put text in. Is there that difference in After Effects?
You can do it in one of two ways. So you got the text tool on the top, like you have.
Mhm.
You can click anywhere. You can also drag, and you can start typing, or you can go right click anywhere at the bottom on the timeline and right click and say new text layer.
Okay,
Really, totally your call.
so empty
That's your
text
box.
layer. So now
Yeah.
I click in it and I can type, right?
Just type, yes.
If I can get around so I can see what I'm doing here. Liking our name. Okay, so we have Creativity-Hive there.
Mhm.
Now, if I want to put, say, Saber on that, let's go ahead and increase the size on that a little bit. Oh, I need to select it. Right. So I've selected it on the screen, and now I can drag my thing bigger, and I need to make the text box big enough to hold all of it. So, okay, there we are. And now,
Except that you didn't get the C.
ooh, I didn't get the C.
So let me show you an easy way, Neil. Undo, undo, and undo until you go back to your original size of your text. So Control Shift and out. Yeah.
My typing is.
So undo that again. Undo your text creation, right? I'll show you why you shouldn't create a text box, because there's always issues with text boxes. So delete your text completely on the timeline as well, on the layer panel as well.
Yeah.
Right? Just hit
It's
the
gone.
text tool and
Mhm.
click in the composition in the comp window,
Okay.
and just start to type. Right? That's the same thing as doing the text, but it's always confined to wherever you want. So you never have to drag a text box to make it fit. Right? Go to selection tool again. Just select it. Go to letter V. Don't click letter V because you can text. Just go up to that little the second select. Yeah, next, the very second one. Right. Now, every single layer has 4 values attached to it. It is scale, position, opacity, and rotation, right?
Mhm.
If you look at that text layer, there's a little arrow next to that red little block at the bottom on the layer panel. There's a little arrow next to that. If you drop that down, go to transform, right? Can you see those scale rotation,
Right.
right? So again, just go away from it, just collapse it back. Arrow. What? Yep. Now select that layer and hit the letter S for scale. This is something Premiere wishes it could do. Now just they are confined X and Y. So just click on that hot text and drag up. Done.
Oh, cool.
Premiere, I find myself so many times trying to do this in Premiere, and it's not possible. So this is a way you can scale very simply.
Now, if I hit P, would I get position?
That is correct. What would you get if you wanted rotation? What letter?
R
What would you get for opacity? What letter?
O.
No, everyone gets it wrong. Opacity is T.
Opacity. Okay.
Right? But if you want to change opacity and scale, or maybe 2 values, say scale and rotation, what you would do is the following. So collapse that down again, or hit the letter S again, right? Press the letter P for position, and now hold Shift and hit any other thing like T or R. Right? So you can work on multiple values.
Uh-huh. Okay,
So
cool.
the Shift opens up the whatever else you want to change.
Mhm.
Okay, so you got Creativity-Hive. That's cool.
Now,
Yes.
I'd like to do something with that saber thing on it. That looked like it had a lot.
Well, the first rule should be, because you're not working in a flat environment, there is perspective to this.
Mhm.
Your text is going to look like it's sitting not very perspective-y, if there's such a word, right? So
Right.
you need to get the perspective correct. Mhm.
Okay.
Okay. So in order to get the perspective correct, we're working in 2 dimensions at the moment, x-axis and y. We don't have a z-axis at this point in time. So we want to transform this into a 3D layer. And when I say 3D layer, it's not suddenly miraculously going to become 3-dimensional. It's going to allow you to work in 3D space. You'll have an x, y, and a z. You'll have depth, right? So
Right.
on the text layer, you will see a little cube. Can you see that little cube? As you go further down next to the text, there's little kind of icons way on the layer panel at the bottom. So where it says Creativity-Hive on the bottom left. So your layer panels, extreme
Oh, right.
left, right? Can you see those little kind of icons to the right of it?
Okay.
Right? It says a little kind of cube. It looks like a 3-dimensional box.
This one? No, that's blending.
Yeah, it's like a little 3D, like a box. Yes, the next one, the last one.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, right. Okay.
Right? So select that at the bottom. Make that 3D, right? Click on it.
On the Creativity-Hive or the
On the
uh,
Creativity-Hive. You want to
okay.
change the perspective of Creativity-Hive, right?
Okay, there we go.
Now you can see you've got X, Y, and Z, right? So
Mhm.
play with the rotation value of X, Y, and Z and see what happens. Just use the hot text and play around with it. You see what's happening?
Mhm.
Oh.
Right, cool. Now, but you've also got these cool grab handles, Neil. So let's get it back to where it was originally, right? Right. Let's just enable that again.
Mhm.
Right. Now, can you see those little grab handles, that red, blue, green, and
Yeah.
all those little things? Right. That's the one you want. That
Fun.
little, that's now you got to, what I'd like you to do is get it so that perspective is sitting on the building at the bottom, that left-hand corner building.
He's having fun.
It's a lot of fun.
Okay.
It's a lot of fun.
So, what do you
The other thing you should do, Neil, is maybe change the color of your text, because you'll be losing it with the color of the buildings. Make it something really obscenely bright, like a yellow or something weird. Red, it doesn't matter what it is, really. Whatever color you want.
Okay.
Still a little bit kind of not blending in. Let's just brighten it up a little bit. And then change it from hues of whites and stuff to something like garish, something that's going to stand out.
Let's go with
We
green.
can always change it later to anything we want. Lime green, maybe a lime green. Total, just take that cursor right
Yeah,
to the
all the way
top,
to the
right
right.
hand corner.
Take the thing all the way to the right.
Yeah, push it right to the top. Do it again. Top right hand corner. Yeah, that's it. We know it's garish, but we'll change it later. We just want to get the position right so we're able to see what's going on. That little tool is cool, but I yeah, you can use that. That's there you go. You're getting there. You were almost there just now. Yeah, now just pull the position down. And maybe, yeah, that's excellent. Now let's just make creativity. You can see the perspective is a little bit off. It needs to be a bit more backwards this way. So let's work on that a bit.
Something like that.
Yeah, maybe make Creativity-Hive 2 lines. And so it fits on the building. Or if you want to leave it like this, it's cool. It's really your call.
Yeah, let's just leave it right there.
All right, so you got that correct so far. The color does not matter at this point in time at all to Saber, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So next thing we do is create a new solid. right click at the bottom in the open area in the gray, yeah, new company, yeah, new solid. You can call it Saber if you want. And then drag and drop this Saber plugin onto the solid layer. Good habit, dropping it on the layer panel. That's great. Now, that's awesome. So we got Yoda's sword there again. Go to the customize core. It's this, yeah, I know these things can become crazy. So there, drop it down, text layer. Choose your layer on the left. Okay. Now, just go in and take the glow value almost right at the top, the glow intensity. Drop it down so you can see your text. Right, that's fine. Now, we don't see it, right? So we don't know what's going on. So what we want to do is very simple. We want to change the blend mode. So you don't have modes enabled there. So just right click on the layer panel in the top area, right click there. Yeah, where you were down. See where you got Saber. No, where you've got Saber typed.
Oh, right down here. Okay.
Just above it where you got layer name. No, let that go. Where you got layer name, that gray area, right click there. Right, columns. Right, modes.
There we are. Okay.
So change that blend mode.
To
Add screen, should be fine. Right, now, what's going on here, right? So disable the Creativity-Hive at the bottom, the second layer. Okay, now this is not three-dimensional by any standard, right? So you got to redo it. You need to now because Saber was on a flat layer, so you need to do the perspective. So go and enable it and make it a 3D layer.
So the Saber layer and
Saber layer, make that. That's right. Now go ahead. Now, very simple, Neil. Very, very simple. Look at the values at the bottom for that Creativity-Hive. You can actually even copy and paste it. You know, if you want to do it manually, you can. It's fine. Just rather get some exercise, some practice.
So I would, just select and.
Yeah, you cut. You remember the values and just you can actually drop down the Saber layer for me. Open it up. No, drop down the little drop down next to Saber. Yeah.
Okay.
The transform handles, right? And you go to transform. Now look at the bottom transform and the top transform. You can copy and paste those values.
Okay.
So you want to, from the bottom layer, copy. Nope. You have to copy each value, each hot text. So that's what I'm saying. It's easier to actually do it manually.
Right.
But if you want absolute precision, you know, for very intensive work, then you copy those values.
Okay.
So select the Saber layer again.
And go 386.8.
Click it and copy. Control C.
Oh.
And then go up there, up to the top. The screen is quite small.
Position.
Yeah.
And I'm slower than heck at this.
That's okay. Your scales are all fine. Go up and look at both the positions. So the bottom Creativity-Hive says position 368.8, 947.4, and 00. 36. So just go copy the 947. Yeah, copy that, and paste it up on the top. No, not in the anchor point. You're not in the anchor point. You're in the position. Yeah. Undo that. Just undo the anchor point. So Control Z.
Yeah. And
right. Go back to the position. Copy and paste. Cool. Click anywhere. Yeah, you should be good. You should be about good. But where's your position now? Let's look at your position. 368. Orientation is changed, right? Naturally, at the bottom. 30.3, 31. Yeah, all those get copied. Good. Keep going. And it will appear where it's supposed to appear.
Okay.
That's the last value. It should appear.
Now I'm
Click anywhere.
okay. I'm still not up where I was before.
Just scroll up one more, just a little bit higher. This one. All right. So 9600 and position orientation 3315 26 9600 position. Just manually grab it and pull it up. Just take that top arrow. Yeah, just do that. But your orientation is not correct, right?
Okay.
Okay. So now you can play with. Now you can go and have fun with Saber. So you can go into the presets on the top and choose something that you like. Naturally, it's going to burst out because the intensity is always very high initially. Okay, that's lovely. I love that. Now, let's leave that one as is, right? Now, what we want to go is to, can you see in the second customize score, you've got end offset and start offset.
Right.
So play with those values. Just play with those two values and see what happens. You see?
Oh.
Yeah. So you have to go back. Yeah, that's right. So you can make it appear. So what it's doing is it's taking the text and it's kind of drawing it onto screen. And look at how cool that is. As you play through that time lapse, you chose the absolute right color. So if you play, could you play it back on your timeline?
And I'm going to move it over here and
That's awesome. Your multi-thread processing is on, yes? I don't think it's on. I'm not sure. Is it on?
yeah, it should be.
So as it's beginning to go to orange, now what we're going to do, Neil, right? We're going to, since you're a colorist and you like color, go to the point in the timeline where the city turns orange, slightly orange. Right, about not too orange, just as it's beginning to turn orange, right? Yeah, maybe about there, I would say. All right, now do the following. Go up to that right on the top, Saber the color. See the color?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Next to the color, tick that little stopwatch on the left-hand side. No, escape the, you don't want the eyedropper.
Yeah.
Oh, undo that.
Okay.
Right. Click the little stopwatch.
By glow color?
That's correct. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, go back in your timeline. Take the timeline back to about, maybe the beginning, yeah. And click on the color again, not the stopwatch, because unlike Premiere, you don't have to. If you like Premiere, if you click on the stopwatch again, you're going to delete all your keyframes. Click on the color picker, so the color, just to choose a white or something else. All right. So go forward on your timeline now. Go forward. Right. Carry on. All right. So that's cool. So what it's doing is, if you play it back properly, do a full RAM preview on it. So let's just play. As you can see, the color is now beginning to affect. It looks like it's affecting the background. So let's just play it back. Can we play it back in real time? Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to do the following. Let's collapse all the layers down so that we see the Saber layer. So the little arrow next to the number 1, 2, 3, you'll collapse that, right? Now, what I'm going to do on the Saber layer, click the Saber layer, select it, and hit the letter U. U for unhide or unveil. This will show you, look at that color range. You can see it.
Right.
And you can see your keyframes, right?
Yeah.
What we want to do is play with the start and end values now, the offsets. So go to the beginning, go to that right at the end where it becomes kind of orangey almost. So move your time indicator forward. Just before it becomes orange. Say about, go back, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Just until you see a tinge of orange on the street. Okay, that's fine. What we're going to do here, see the end offset and right, just click that little stopwatch at end offset where you've got it on the Saber, right? We don't want that. Make it 100. Okay, right. So at this point, I want you to, again, make it 0. Make it 0 again for me. Right? Now, go back right in time, right at the beginning of the entire clip, and make it 100. Right. Play
Do I
that.
need to click on the stopwatch again, or?
No. Oh, did you okay, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, click it on. Leave it at 100. Go forward now. Go forward to where that orange, just as the street begins to right, a little bit backwards. Right, make that 0. Cool. Play back at the beginning, and you'll see. Also, right. So what I want you to do also before you play it forward, go up to the View menu. Right on the top, View, show layer controls. Take it away. Control Shift and H in the future. Right. So we don't want to see layer controls. We just want to see the whole thing. All right. Play back.
So that's what it would be doing now.
That's what it would be doing. It would be evolving into something that looks almost 3-dimensional. I'm just wondering why I'm not seeing a green line. Well, now I'm seeing the green line. Okay. Are you doing the RAM preview? Okay, cool. Threadripper. See, this is where on the timeline, the number of cores and the RAM and the processor makes such a huge difference.
Right.
Now, Marie, do you understand when we're working with After Effects, what happens is, this is where, for example, if you make a typo and you send it to a client and the client says, can you change letter I to letter T? Or you don't make a typo and they say change it. And they think like it's Word and you just change it. But it takes this long just to render.
How hard is it to change the misspelling? But
Absolutely.
you have to redo all of this.
All of this. It takes a lot of, and they don't understand that. And they think, okay, we can just do it. Just go ahead and change this orange to purple. And, okay, one click and it's fine. But they don't realize this is just timeline. Neil, can you see at the top I'll call it a work area bar, right? But it's a composition bar. See right. On the top, go extreme right hand side, right to the right to the right of your timeline. See that little bar, the blue? Next, yeah, just grab it left. The bottom one, yeah, that one. Grab it to the left. Just go right, pull it next to where that last keyframe is, but not on top of that keyframe, just about there, right? So what this is going to do, Neil, is when you play back, it's going to loop for you. It'll loop the animation.
Right.
So it's just got a little bit of, once it's got that little bit of animation to go, then it'll. So you got this whole cool effect going on.
That's kind of fun. It looks like you're looking at a fire burned through the image there, and the letters are around that.
It does, and what's great is the fact that the lighting affects, the lighting changes, and it actually matches the text color from Saber. So you can do that, and you can play around with other things in Saber. So let's try this, right? Since we've done it before, since I've done it here. Let's take the building on the top. See where you got all those, the sun is reflecting in that like a grid, looks like a microchip.
Right.
Yeah, that one. Let's make, um, okay, that's too big. Let's take that little building on the right hand, the big building on the right hand side, the black kind of building. And see the top roof area. You're just gonna create something around that area, like a block, right? So just that black area, not where the lights are. And you're gonna add saber to that. Let me see how you do it.
I wouldn't have a clue.
Okay, let's do it then. So we're gonna stop the animation. So we're gonna stop playback. We can go back right to frame number 1. Okay, we're gonna just collapse everything. Just collapse down that saber layer. Right, we got the background. So I'd like you to duplicate the background. So go to the background and hit Control D.
That's this one, and then Control D.
That's right. And just rename it. So hit Enter on that layer. Return or Enter.
So which one?
The top one is.
The top one.
And just call it building or whatever you want to call it. Cool. Alrighty. With that layer selected, right? As long as it's selected, go up to the pen tool. Find your pen tool next to the text tool. Just zoom in. If you have a middle mouse button, just zoom in. Right, and just your hand tool, yeah. You can just move around. Spacebar and then just, yeah. Cool. Rightio. Now, on the bottom, wherever you want to start the mask, on an edge. Start it on an edge, right? You don't have to curve it over. It's all good. Make it go a little bit less, just above where you can start seeing the block. So come down more, bring your mask down as in, yeah, there, stop. Right. Move it left a little bit so it touches the, right, cool. Then go upwards now. Just make your next click up to the edge. Yep. And then just keep going. Now, unlike Photoshop, where you have to do your Bezier curves right at the beginning, this one you do it after the fact. So if you make a mistake, you can always change the Bezier after. All right, so you got a mask. That's great. What do we want to do now is drop saber onto this layer. Unlike text, now you can drop saber onto this layer. Rather do it on your layer panel.
On the layer panel, okay.
Yes, right. Right. So as usual, you can see nothing's going on. Go to the customize call. Yep, that one. Drop it down. Change to layer masks. Right. Change your blend mode. At the bottom, under layer panels to layer panels. Yeah, at the bottom.
Okay, and that's which one of these again?
So on the building layer, you got normal as a blend mode. Make it screen.
Right. Okay.
Oh, cool. Right. So now what you want to do is customize the core. So the presets, choose a preset that you want. It's so much fun because they all do different things. They're all super cool. Right. Right. So Ghostbusters kind of thing. So get your zoom level to fit at the bottom underneath left hand side. Left of full.
Fit. There we go.
Fit. Playback. Deselect and is playback. Yeah. So you got stuff going on here, as you can see. So lots of cool fun.
Gosh, I see why you just get into this stuff, Mo, and lose complete track of time.
You lose time. So Neil, see this enable glow on the top on your saber? Disable that little tick. Take away right at this little tick box above the green. Yeah, disable, right? Now you'll see when you disable it, the glow goes away, but you got a nice, much more subtle effect going on.
I see. Yeah.
Do you understand? So the glow adds too much of brightness. It can cause a lot of disruptions. So you can play around with values now to see what actually happens. So
yeah, you see just the kind of an outline of that green paint.
It's like an outline. Yes, absolutely. Right. So you understand this. So
Right.
press stop on your timeline. Let's go to edit purge. Let's see how much you've used. All memory and disk cache.
68.4.
Right. Click OK. Right. Go back to your project window. Right on the top, you've got project, where you've got effects controls. Next to effects controls, to the right of it is project.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Right. Now, what I want you to do is import. Where's that still? Okay, you've got that still image, right? So take that still image on the top, the studio thing, and drop it onto the new composition, the new comp window, which is next to the rocket. Looks like a rocket. It's the second one from the right. Yeah, about there. Right, cool. Now, this is something totally different. We're not touching Saber here, right? At all. We're touching something else. Go type a text.
Just add some text.
I am in prison. Whatever you want to type, I don't know what you want. Just make up anything, really. Right, that's right. Now you can go back to the normal white color.
I wonder if we should do this as a second show, because we're already an hour or more than an hour into this one.
Sure, we can do this as a second show. This is super cool stuff. Okay, so can I share my screen before we leave? So I'll just give you a preview of what's going on.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Let me move my screens over. So this goes there. Ooh, dear. Okay, this goes there. Screen goes. Man, come on.
I think we have a whole series in our future.
A lot.
Doing fun stuff in After Effects.
Right. So share screen. Right. Cool. So this is not full render, right? As you can see, the line is green and the building's on fire and it's looking cool. Right,
okay.
So let's stop that. Let's go back to project window. Project window. Let's just make that full screen. Okay. Whole thing here. Back in here. Oops. It's the wrong one. Which one was it? All right, there we go. So new text, and okay. So just going to kind of do that, and then we're just going to paragraph, and we're just going to center justify. Okay, cool. And I'll just change that font because it's a little bit thin. So I'll just go in there, go into my character, and I'll find something like that, and we'll change the color to white. All right, cool, great. You'll see I can even resize like this, but there's a way to do this because if you don't hold a certain button, it goes completely bananas. All right, so what we can do, I told you, remember, VC Reflect, right? Which is a very cool little tool to use. So I'm going to go to Video Pilot, VC Reflect, put it in there. All right, so you don't see anything, but watch what I do. What happens when I bring this up?
Ooh.
This is my go-to for reflection, but it's got some cool stuff because what we can do is we can change the fall off like so. So I'm going to make it look like it's sitting here. I'm going to go to the fall off, kind of do that. And all these can be animated, by the way, as well. And I'm going to change the blur amount, as you can see, stuff like that. And now it looks like it's on the floor. Look, ooh, it's magic.
Ooh. I like
and
it.
They don't tell you this in textbooks, and they don't tell this on YouTube. They do not tell you this because they don't want you to know this kind of stuff.
We're on YouTube, so now we do. It is on YouTube.
Look at this. See this animation? It looks like it's on the floor. It looks like it's absolutely on the floor.
That is really cool.
And if we change our columns to switches quickly, and I make it 3-dimensional, what I can do is I can do that and animate this. So I'm going to quickly animate it. I know we don't have time, so sorry. I'm going to go to the transform. But what I'll do is I'll just position. I'll just do all of them. And I'm going to go in here. And I'm going to kind of just push this back. Like so. And then I'll bring that forward. And I'll bring that in like so. Okay, and if I look at my animation and I let it loop, and you can see I got a lot of blurs going on. So look at that animation. Let me just drop my res to half actually. Okay, cool. So before we go, Miriam, last little bit. I'm just going to put a solid in there. And because we were using the saber, we're going to put saber in there. We're going to go to the core. We're going to go to text layer. And we're going to find text. Hello, I'm Prism. I change the blend mode to a screen. Drop down. Look what happens. That's cool. Drop down the blur intensity. And look what happens. I'm going to disable the text at the bottom. There you go. Right. Then I'm going to take my VC Reflect yet again. And this time, Neil, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this whole VC Reflect over. Copy that whole effect because I've already changed the values. And I'm going to go onto this and I'm going to paste the effect. Look, bang, done. Everything's done. So we want to look at the animation, right? So we've created an animation, but we did it on this layer. So what I'm going to do is see these two keyframes up here. Mm-hmm. These keyframes are for position. So I'm going to go up here, hit the letter P, enable P, and paste. I've pasted the keyframes, right? So let's just move it a little bit over like that. And let's just disable this layer real quick and play back. Let's just see where my positions are. Oh, I think that position went off. Oh, yes, sorry, I didn't enable the 3D layer. Sorry, I should have enabled first, but that you'll get that keyframe moving in that way. And that's it. Really super simple. Look at this now as well. Yeah. All right. So that reflection that we've got here, we can change a little bit of the fall off. We can kind of do that a little bit. Right. We can also change the type of the blur amount like that to make it a little bit more subtle. But now you got a floor. Look at that. It looks like it's on a floor. So yeah, that's something Miriam's going to practice next week.
Oh, what?
Yeah. It's every week it's someone new, right? So look, if you look at this, you got a very, very interesting effect going on a floor, but there is no floor.
Yeah.
Right.
It's walking around on the floor, right? And that's the depth. And then we haven't even added depth yet, which is, I think,
a whole nother thing. I'll bet.
A total.
Awesome. Well, this has been really fun. Really, really fun. We are going to, but it's time to sign off.
Yes.
So,
bye, everyone. Hope you had time. Fantastic work.
Bye. I've got something to play with here now.
Yeah, we're going to stay on, right? Yeah.